One issue Nigerians would love to see is how the fight against economic crimes and corruption would be fought in the Tinubu administration. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that's the EFCC, had been accused of cherry-picking its war. And when it does bear its fangs, it is more likely on advance fee fraudsters, while the political sector seems only to get tried in the media. Well, Kenny Okolugbo, he is a public affairs analyst and a former commissioner in Delta State. He joins me now. Kenny, good to see you and thanks for your time. The EFCC and the Tinubu administration is in the news again. One big thing Nigerians would love to see is a renewed fight within the Anti-graft agency. Tell us your reading so far, knowing that we have an acting chief in the EFCC.
Well, first, the removal of Bawa, a couple of Nigerians wanted to know why Bawa was removed. A whole lot of the CSOs applauded Bawa's removal because there have been a series of allegations against Bawa. But the task before Abdul Karim Chokol is to actually prove to Nigerians that EFCC is not actually cherry-picking, like you rightly said. Because one of the mantras that Buhari came on the former government was corruption. While Tinubu didn't use corruption as a mantra, but he clearly said that he was going to, first of all, address the underlying issues that allow corruption thrive. And secondly, he was also going to make it, because he must agree that the socioeconomic problems we are facing as a country today is mainly because of corruption. And if you are actually addressing those underlying issues, you're actually attacking corruption from the root cause. And so measures that Abdul Karim Chokol will have to give to us is that he's going to certainly investigate these politically exposed persons that have been brought before him, and those that have been brought before now that the petitions have been left fallow, that he will certainly wake those petitions up and put teeth to it and make Nigerians believe in the EFCC as it used to be before now.
Well, again, you know, the argument has always been, you live in Lagos, and some of the arguments there, especially around Nigeria, even Lagos, is the EFCC. If you go to the EFCC page, you see the EFCC being very, very active and vibrant in chasing advance fee fraudsters, leaving the political heavyweights untouched. Ken?
Well, that's exactly what the complaints has been against the EFCC. Now, for example, when Magu was there, this complaint was there because they said most of the corruption cases that were being tried were done was basically was media trial. And for the advance fee fraudsters, you see all the cases being brought before the media houses. But for the politically exposed persons, especially those who have occupied offices, some of the sensitive informations are leaked to the press, and it just dies a natural death. And so what happens here is that Abdul Karim Chokol has a lot on his table. We already have petitions that have gone before Abdul Karim Chokol. We have 3 governors that have gone before him now. We have Matawale, we have Otom, and we have Okowa. And the truth about it right now is that Abdul Karim Chokol will have no choice but to actually investigate these petitions and make it clear to Nigerians that these petitions, for example, that have come before me, these are the findings and not one that actually will be swept under the carpet. Then again, Tinubu has a task. The task before him is to allow us to the white report on Magu. The white report on Magu is very key, and it's important at this point because Nigerians were shocked when the same person who had been removed and had been said to have been corrupt was promoted to an AIG, and most people also saw it from the perspective that Magu was removed from office by the then Attorney General Malami because he wanted to install his boy Bawa. And so for us to have that confidence back in the EFCC, he will have to also allow us to see that white report and also make it possible for us to know those things that Bawa has committed that has made him to be removed from office, even though the allegations against Bawa are very strong. And, you know, in that case, Nigerians will certainly see that, look, corruption is actually being fought. Because when you talk of fuel subsidy removal, everybody knows that we don't consume 66 million liters of fuel in Nigeria. But we had cases of crude swap agreements, we had subsidy, we even had rice subsidy, we even had waiver subsidies. These are the kind of investigations we expect the EFCC to carry out at this material point in time to give Nigerians that confidence again in the fact that the war against corruption is real and not the way it was perceived under President Buhari, who used it as a mantra. One thing I can give is that Tinubu has put money to where his mouth belongs so far with all the things he has said prior to the campaigns. He dwelt on corruption and said, oh, he was going to deal with it from two-pronged approach. He was going to deal with the issues like civil servants. They will make mortgages available to them to discourage them from paying lump sums from their salaries so that they will not get corrupt. But if you notice, if I may digress a bit, if you notice that in 2018, there is this voluntary asset regularization scheme that was signed into law by Buhari. This will enable, if this is given teeth, those politically exposed persons who acquire properties abroad, offshore asset declaration, will become very discouraged. So the laws are there. It's just for us to be able to allow EFCC do its own work. That's what I think.
You know, so Ken, when you say allow EFCC do its work, many will be asking the question: who is holding the EFCC back, or the ICPC? You just gave us a list of 3 governors that have been so mentioned, not by any other, by the EFCC and by also some Nigerians that have also written petition. Matawale was trending then, and till date, no one has heard anything from the new man. And your state has also, Delta, has also been in the news lately. These men have no immunity. What's stopping the EFCC from having a conversation with these people, perhaps to clear their names?
So far, only Autumn has been invited out of these 3 governors. But if you look at the interview that Chief Edwin Clark had on your station, which was more like breaking news, he dwelt clearly on very key issues. Matawale's case is that his petition has not been made clear. But Chief Clark's letter to the EFCC was very clear. He said 1,077 billion of Delta State government money has been misappropriated by Governor Okowa, by former Governor Okowa. And the fact that these monies belong to the oil-producing areas should be investigated by the EFCC. And he did not even just allege, he gave certified true copies of monies that were received in a period of 8 years. And when a 96-year-old man makes such weighty allegations, I don't think Abdul Karim Choku should sweep that under the carpet, especially when you see facts that cannot be controverted, which he clearly said on that program. And there were issues also that have been brought to fore by Chief Clark, which actually dealt with the fact that the oil-producing area have been shortchanged. Since it is my state, I can clearly tell you that initially, when I was in public service, I served as a commissioner under the SOPADEC. For my area, for example, Ndokwa, where I come from, I know nothing has happened as regards the SOPADEC. It's been moribund, I can tell you for free. And again, there have been allegations too for loans that have been collected by the other state. I don't want it to be like I'm dwelling so much on my state, but these facts were brought out by your news channel. These loans are non-performing loans that were used to buy shares in private companies like UTM and so many others that the old man has not brought to the public domain. So I think if you look at these issues, Abdul Karim Choku will have no choice but to investigate these issues and bring them to a speedy conclusion, because, like you know, these are allegations. They have not been proven. They can only be proven when this investigation has been done and these governors have been charged to court and they've actually undergo trial and they are found guilty. But when weighty allegations are made like this, it's very wrong for them to be swept under the carpet. Matawale, for example, accused Bawa that he collected $2 million, or rather, wanted to collect $2 million from him, and he said he had evidence. Nigerians would like to see those evidence. Look at the United States of America. I mean, they're leaking tapes of Donald Trump. They're leaking tapes of Hunter Biden, the president's son, who is going to be charged next week for corruption. So, I mean, the EFCC should make it possible for us to know that nobody is above the law. And not only Matawale or Kowa or Autumn, as the case may be, Ganduje should be on the focus, because we should be able, Tinubu should be able to tell us that those who are close to him are able to be charged by the EFCC, or at least investigated by the EFCC, and there will be nobody that will be above board.
Well, that's a very tricky one. The good thing you were able to say it the way it is by using the right word. These are allegations. And of course, if Chief Edwin Clark has said he's written the EFCC, we'll wait to hear from the EFCC to speak, because the Delta State government, through the former commissioner, had spoken concerning that particular matter when it did appear here on the Arise channel. Quickly, as we move on,
if I may butt in quickly, I think the Delta State former commissioner for information, because I watched that program, he did a lot of disservice to his principal on that rebuttal, because I think it's time you start doing fact checks. You have to start fact checking guests on your program. A lot of the facts he brought on that station were clear lies that were told on that program. And a lot of us are from Delta State, where we had our own reservations. But this program is not about that program for that day. I just wanted to point that out.
I think for clarity's sake, I'll give you, because when you say checked, I mean the issues were not fact checked. What issues were you referring to in particular?
Oh, first of all, he tried to give the impression that the 96-year-old man was lying when he said that universities were built in the governor's ancestral home. Yes, there's the University of Agbo, but new campuses were built in Owalero, Faculty of Environmental Sciences and Faculty of Engineering. That was what the old man was trying to talk about. Not to say that you shouldn't build universities in your ancestral home, don't get me wrong, but when you come on national television and give the impression the man is lying about that, that is wrong. Again, he tried to say the man progressed in error. The man didn't progress in error. He was dealing with facts that he had been given by the Accountant General's office, and those are the facts he brought to bear and said, look, why not respond to these allegations? And he clearly said 13 companies were culprits for maybe diverting even the security funds that were coming to Desopadec. And he named Anyoma Petroleum Resources as taking dollars directly from that same funds that the Accountant General said were provided. And he also found that the 100 billion that was given by Premium Trust Bank was the lead bank. He also found that the loan that was given at that twilight of the administration. But look, not to say all this, these are facts that the old man had brought to bear, but he tried to make it look like it was a lie. But these were not lies, these were all facts that were true. That's all I'm trying. I'm just staying on the facts. And he also tried to give the impression that yes.
Okay, good. Let's stretch it. Sorry to cut you there, Ken. Now, speaking of which, the very respected Edwin Clark, keep in mind some of the key things on the day were also the issue of Nyesom Wike when he spoke, telling the world that the South governors had collected some certain amount from the oil derivation to their state. So is it, till date, most of these states haven't actually spoken the way Nyesom Wike spoke in the open. Is it a part of those that you would expect the ICPC and the EFCC to also perhaps look into for the good of these states?
No, but I think what Wike was saying was that Wike was talking about the refund for the 13% derivation, and Wike said he got 240 billion, which was the same thing Delta got. But what Delta tried to say was that they had not gotten their whole 240 billion, that they were only discounting 100 billion, and probably the 20 billion Fidelity Bank gave for the shares that were bought from UTM, which I said a whole lot of people have frowned about because it's a non-performing loan, paying at 21% and issuing out ISPO. ISPO are irrevocable standard payment orders to the Accountant General to deduct from FAC. And so those funds are not necessarily funds that were sent to the oil-producing area. That is exactly what the old man was trying to say when he tried to say Wike was the one that made him understand. Because those funds were meant to be given to the oil-producing area. 50% of it was supposed to be given to the oil-producing area. And even the debate has gone that in Delta, for example, where we have that law, that what do you do with the other 50%? But this 50% was not given. These loans were taken, and these loans were used to offset contractors for contracts that had no relationship with the oil-producing area. That's exactly what the old man was trying to say, and that the money that has been spent for these 8 years is not commensurate in the oil-producing area. And you know, the Delta State Commissioner tried to talk about the floating market. Yes, a floating market is an aesthetics piece, but that is not the question. The question is that the Shekiris have 29% of the derivation funds, and they have not seen that in the Shekiri area. Warri, for example, which the old man talked about, the new governor clearly said he was going to give Warri a facelift. So it wasn't me that said it, it was the governor that said it. For the governor to say, I'm going to give Warri a facelift, clearly shows that Warri is underdeveloped. So these are the things that was being brought to fore by what Wike said. Of course, Bayelsa also got, Akwa Ibom also got, but they didn't speak. It was Delta that spoke about it, because Delta wanted to insist on the fact that they didn't get 240 billion, but only 120 billion out of it, and that they are being paid about 5 for 19. They had only collected 19 billion in the refunds. But the actual fact is that when you discount these funds, I did development psychology and I did economics as an elective in school. When you discount funds, these funds have actually come to you. You can't say these funds are more with the federal government, because the federal government has backed these funds, and that's why you're able to issue ISPOs to the Accountant General to deduct from FAC. And that's exactly what the situation was. But Wike took all of his and was grateful to the federal government and said, that's what I'm using to build the flyovers. All right, okay. So it's clear for Deltans who have that 50% obligation to the oil-producing areas to show what they did to the oil-producing areas.
Let's close on this, and it comes back to how we started. The man, of the moment, President Bola Tinubu. Do you think? How optimistic are you that the Tinubu administration will be able to back the EFCC and other agencies fighting graft in this first 4 years?
Well, what he has to do first, he has to give us a substantive EFCC chairman. And Bawa's, I keep saying it, Bawa's investigation must be brought to fore. He has to let us, he has to know what happened with Magu. We need to know what Bawa has done, and the white paper reports, if possible, should be issued on Bawa. Then the ICPC will have to be strengthened, because people don't see the ICPC the way they see the EFCC. And again, even the police has to also be strengthened. The police naturally are those that should investigate crime. So the fraud unit of the police force has to be strengthened to also work hand in hand with the ICPC and with the EFCC. And more importantly, he should show that there are no sacred cows. Those who are around him who have been alleged to have actually embezzled funds, let us see them being invited by the EFCC. And then Nigerians will look at it and say, Tinubu has actually shown us that there are no sacred cows, and he's actually going to put a fight and a stop to this, what Buhari did. Because to me, I didn't give Buhari a pass mark in his fight against corruption. And sitting in Daura now, I'm sure looking at it with what is happening, his government will go down as one which had Magu suspended and removed. Now Bawa suspended and certainly going to be removed. That's a minus. And don't forget that Nigeria is number 154 out of the 180 countries on the Transparency International Index. We went lower in our ratings. So if Tinubu can move us to at least 100 in his first 1 year in office, I didn't say he should move us to below 100, then move us to 2 digits, then the fight against corruption would have been seen to have not won, but at least having a headway. Maybe because we have a national security advisor who used to be the chairman of EFCC, he will also give a helping hand.
All right, guys, a fine place for us to leave it. Kenny Okolugbo, many thanks for speaking with us here on the Rise Prime Time.